Hey, what's up? I'm Yung Skrrt, and today I'm going to show you how to make a melody from scratch and turn it into a full beat with Reason 13. First things first, I think about all the pieces that I use in an instrumental. Usually it starts out with a poly synth, then a bass, then another poly synth to kind of give it more body, then a lead synth. Those are usually the four pieces I have in a full melody. And then on drums, we usually have a first hi-hat, a clap, a second hi-hat, an open hi-hat, a percussion, and then the 808 to tie it all together. Now let's pull open Reason 13, get everything that I mentioned, and get it ready to make a full beat from scratch. Let's get it open. We're booted up into Reason 13, and I'm gonna go ahead and use the new stuff. So let's pull out a Polytone for that first poly synth. The browser is now a pop-up, and we have the new tag system. Now we know we want a synth or keys, maybe mallets. Let's go with poly though. That's really cool. This is my first time checking this out. I really like the tagging system here to help me find something. Usually in my Twitch stream, I have the chat give me random letters and I decide, but let me just look at what looks good here. Saw and order maybe. I like saw synths. Wave dancer maybe. Soft brass maybe. I love a Jupiter. I want something that's softer and kind of more like kind of attacky, but softer and more like synthesized. So let's just go ahead and try the Jupiter. So here we go. I like to use the Reason keyboard MIDI. When I come up with a melody from scratch, I kind of just slam the keys, and whatever comes out, whatever like pops into my ear from me just messing around, that's what I'll use as the melody. So oh, see that just kind of happened. Like you gotta be willing to just be messing around and just kind of be listening in to what's right in front of you. All right, so we're gonna set the loop point right there, and I'm just gonna play that in, that little, just something really simple. Let's try it out. So. That's pretty cool. Right-click quantize to 16th notes. What is quantize setup here? Okay, so that's just an easier way to look at it. If you don't know on Reason, it's just down here usually. Okay, so we have this little riff here with our first polysynth. No problem. And I was going up and down the octave with the Z and the X key. So we're just going to use Polytone for everything. So first off, I just want bass. Here we go. Synth bass. That's all we got. FM digi bass sounds good. That bass, detuned Juno bass. I wish it wasn't detuned, but that's probably the vibe. Let's try FM digi bass. Not quite what I want. It's a little too stabby. Let's try that bass. It's pretty cool right there. And before we do that, let's mess around with the fade of this real quick. On Polytone, we have the A and the B. So they're both pulse wave, saw wave. They both look pretty similar. The B has a little bit of a higher FM. So if I turn it on Morse mode, you can kind of blend between them. A mix mode, I think. I think I like A better, and that's kind of probably why they put it on single mode. But let's add that bass. That's what I'm gonna do right there. That's the bass notes that kind of strike in my head. So let's record it in there. Woo. Yeah. Ooh, yeah, I like that. Quantize. Alright, now that we got in there, that's sounding great. Let's get one more polytone in there. Like I said, polysynth, bass, second polysynth to kind of give it more body, and then a lead synth to round it out. So let's go in here again in the browser, and let's do synth, keys, poly. Maybe an electric piano, actually. Let's get an electric piano. I love an electric piano. Let's try fuzz E piano. Okay, it's all right. Let's see the other ones. Oh, that's more my type right there. So pretty much my bass notes are B, G, A, B. So those are the bass notes. So I'm pretty much going to, when I was jamming out my initial melody with the first poly synth, like I said, I like to slam my hands down and kind of just find something random and listen what like pulls out. What ended up coming out when I was slamming it down was, it's kind of in D major. Those are like, the notes I played was like, so the notes that I played with the first poly synth were actually the notes that are in B minor, like. So I figured out that that was the key. So now I know when I played the bass note, I played. So now I'm going to play the 1, 3, 5 normal chords, like the first note that you play, and then the third note in the scale, and then the fifth note past that in the scale, like just a 1, 3, 5 pattern. I'm just gonna play that with a second polysynth to mimic the bass, but also just give it more. You know what I'm saying? And because the keyboard, the computer keyboard, is only 1.5 octaves, I can't do B, D, F sharp. So I have to play the lower F sharp. I can't do it all at the same time, which kind of gives a cool inversion, so I'm okay with that. So let's just play that in to layer the bass. Sounds good. Gives it more body. Now, the last thing we'll add is a lead synth. I am going to use all polytones for this. So let's see what we got in the case of synth leads. Okay, let's try funky sync lead. Maybe a little too sharp. Maybe a little too sharp for my taste. Classique twang. I feel like all lead synths should be monophonic. I could turn it to monophonic. That's pretty cool right there. And when I said turn it to monophonic, here is the voices for the polytone. Normally it has 16 voices when it's on polyphonic mode, but I switched it to re-trigger, which is a monophonic setting, which means every note that I hit will re-trigger the attack. Versus legato, which will slide. Kind of like the re-trigger for this, so it gives each attack a little more heavily. It's got a really nice reverb on there. Turn the chorus up a little bit. I like the internal choruses. Cool. So let's just kind of mess around and find a lead that sounds good. Do an octave down. Sounds cool. Let's put that in. I'll just copy and paste that. Copy and paste it. See, I like that. I liked how this fourth section was a little better, so I just patched it on to that section. Okay, so now we have our 4 sections of melodicism here to work off of. We have our first polysynth, we have our bass, we have our second polysynth, then we have a lead synth, which I'll just join right here to make it one thing. My favorite arrangement, super easy. Copy the polysynth over to 32 bars, so 4 times. And just to make it clear, we are doing an 8-bar loop. Put the bass that's starting on the second one, then copy it through. Put the second polysynth starting on the third 8 bars, then copy it through. Then put the lead on the last one. So then it kind of has a progression. I'm gonna add a second layer of piano while it's playing. Okay, I didn't like the last half of that, so let me edit it. Okay, so it looks like the zoom has kind of moved. I forgot this changed too. The sequencer changed. Now, how do I zoom in and out horizontally? Can I not? Is it just... I mean, I am looking at the whole thing. I know I'm blocking it a little bit, but I am looking at the entire MIDI file. I guess that's fine. Oh, I guess you zoom like this. Interesting. Just kind of messing around with different notes to see what sounds best. Okay, cool. That's good. Now how do you get back to the regular sequencer? Right there. So I'm going to File, Export Loop, and put it in my loop folder. We'll call it Blink. Just a random name. Loop. 123 BPM, and my name is Yung Skrrt. Thank you. So let's render it out to 44.1. I gave it 4 bars of extra space to kind of preserve any tail that may come off of it, like a reverb tail, so it doesn't cut short. So I exported the loop from 1 to bar 37, which gives it an extra 4 bars to kind of breathe. Now, we're going to open this up with the browser. We're going to go into loops. It saved all my shortcuts from Reason 12. I love that. All right, so I've just gone ahead and dragged it in there. Now, one thing I want to do, because G is the lowest bass note, my personal choice for lowest bass note is A. So what I want to do is pitch it up to kind of meet that requirement and be at a good spot. So I just pitched the entire loop of all 4 up to. Cool. Sounds good. Sounds good. So let's EQ it now. Now that I have the sample on its own, I like to strip out the sub basses because we're going to use an 808 to kind of drive that bass. I know the mids are going to want to come down because they're super heavy, and you want to make room for vocals. Vocals that are potentially future going to be on the beat. So I'm moving the filter, I'm moving the low, I put the low bell on, kind of moving the mids around to get a nice sound. I might pump the highs a little bit. I might put a little chorus on there. Looking for quartet here. Drop the rate a little bit, just give it a little space. Give it a little more space. Oh, here's the effects. I like to put in Audiomatic as well. Hi-Fi. I'll put a little soft tube saturation on it. That's a favorite of mine. Okay, now that that's all on here. So we have the loop here. Let's start putting some drums. Now I have a drum template that I preload into Reason. This is my specialized Kong template here. What I have set up is usually a compressor on the hi-hats, a compressor on the clap, a compressor and a filter if I use a kick. I usually don't use kicks anymore. I let the 808 do the kicking. A percussion, which I just had to add the compressor on there. So I have hi-hat, open hi-hat, clap, perk. That's usually where I put everything. So I'm going to go into my browser into my personal Skrrt sound pack. Let's check it. Or no, actually, my friend Trizzy put together some claps that are really good that I usually use. Just really good claps. That's pretty good. I want a more snare type thing there. Oh, I meant to drag it in. Still getting used to this new browser here. Then I go to the Skrrt Sound Pack 2.0 from all my hi-hats. Always good hi-hats in here. Check out gumroad.com/Yung Skrrt for all your sound pack needs. So there's hi-hat 1. Let's put hi-hat 2 into 9. Let's put an open hi-hat into 11. And then let's put a little percussion into the 4th slot there. That's just how I have everything slotted. I like how it's I like that little sound. So now we got some drums to work with. My favorite drum patterns are generally basing around just a straight 8th note. You know, so usually I'll just play it pretty straight with the hi-hat with a little flexes. You know what I'm saying? Just something like that. So let's put it in there. I'll start it on the 5. Pretty good right there. So quantize it to the 16th notes. There might be a couple notes that I missed. Check it out. Kind of like this new scrolling wheel feature. Or the zoom scroll. Sounds pretty cool. Now all we really need is claps. Alright, so I'm just going to copy paste that over. I'll use this little bit in order to kind of keep it a little more variable. Control click is to copy, by the way. Is to duplicate, if you didn't know. So I'll add that in there, and that should set us for a hi-hat pattern. So let's just go ahead and add the claps in there. That'll be super easy. And I like to add the percussion elements in the 2nd and 4th 8-bar. Yeah, that's pretty cool. So now we quantize it. And like I said, I like to add the percussions in the 2nd and the 4th 8-bar. So I am going to have the version here with just the clap. Oh, that one was off. Let's move it over. Just want it to be pretty straightforward. So I'll keep that, and then I'll put the ones with the percussions in there. Pretty good. I also like to not introduce the open hi-hat until the 3rd 8-bar. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go in here and I'm going to put the open hi-hat down to the secondary hi-hat for these ones. And then the open hi-hat will come in as a new element in the 3rd and 4th 8-bar. Okay, so now we have our structure. We're just going to get an 808 here. I'm going to get my 808 from Skrrt Sound Pack 2.0. That's a good one right there. That's a nice crunchy 808. Now I have my 808 template set up with an NNXT. a little soft tube, a compression for the volume, and then a sidechain compression set into the drums. And I also like to EQ my 808s egregiously. We need that bass to hit. I love my 808s to just hit. So before the notes were B, G, A, B, and I've moved it up 2 steps, so it's going to be C sharp, A, B, C sharp, or it should be. Exactly. So we are going to shave off more of this low end to give the 808 more room to breathe here. That's up an octave. Okay, that'll be good. All right, just practicing. Let's go. Kind of within the space. Imagine the 808 as the kick drum. Perfect. I'll copy and paste that second half over. I just wanted to show y'all the MIDI notes I was playing. I'm gonna take out those leading notes because I want that to come in when the chords come in. I mean when the bass comes in. Nice. So now we have 32 bars. Now we have 32 bars filled out. What we're gonna do is that I consider that the intro and the hook section for any like pop type beat type song. Maybe a little verse, maybe a hook. So now what we're gonna do is we're gonna copy that over into a new track and pitch it down an octave to give it the verse section. And then just copy over the bass and the drums. They should work. Maybe I'll make the drums start a little earlier. Change the EQing a little bit because you pitched it down an octave. Here we go. There we go. And now what I also like to do is in the fourth 8 bar of the verse, no repeating notes unless they're really close. Every 4 bars. So we'll just leave this and then leave that. And that should be good. It'll give it space. You'll hear it right here. And then what I like to do for the ending is to copy the last 8 bar over twice of the original spot. And then copy the last 16 bars of bass and drums. And we're done. See, it gave it some space. And now we're back. Right back. And then use the lower octave as the outro. There we go. We have a full beat. Sounds good. Now the last thing I do is master it. But they said no clipping, so we'll leave it pre-master. All right, and there's your beat from scratch, making a melody out of 32 bars of Polytone on Reason 13. I hope you enjoyed the video, and if you like what you heard, go follow Reason on all platforms, Reason Studios. Go follow Yung Skrrt on all platforms, especially YouTube and Twitch, and go listen to my music if you like that beat. I'm live on Twitch every day. Thanks for watching. We'll see you next time.